Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thursday Live with Chug. My name is Neha Mahajan, and I am the Business Development and Outreach Manager here at the Chug firm, Chug LLP. And today I'm joined by our partner attorney from our LA office, Gladys Gervacio. Hi there, Gladys.
Hi, Neha. Good to see you.
Hi. Yes, good to see you
Happy
too.
Diwali.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. A very happy Diwali to everybody who's watching us, hearing us, listening to us, tuned in today. Um, you know, uh, Today we're going to talk about the proclamation that is going to change all of our lives in a nice way. During COVID, so many things have happened, and travel ban, has literally separated us from our families. It has disrupted businesses. So that travel ban, as of November 8th at 12:01 Eastern time, well, that's going to get lifted. And what does it mean for you, for me, for our parents, for our siblings who want to visit us, that aunt who hasn't seen us in the longest times, those who want to, those who have businesses to take care of? What does it mean for everybody? Gladys is with me. Gladys, let's dive right into the topic today. And I want to ask you, my first question is going to be, what should travelers, coming into United States know once this proclamation, gets implemented on November 8th at 12:01 Eastern time? What happens?
So, Neha, just before I answer your question, just like quick disclaimer. Reminder to our viewers that this session does not create an attorney-client relationship, that it's purely for informational purpose only. So please independently verify whatever information you take away from this session. And yes, so to answer your question, what this proclamation means is that first, those geographic travel bans that have restricted travel for individuals who have been in countries where there are high COVID infection rates, such as China, the Schengen area, India, Brazil, all of those countries, that is now superseded by this new travel policy, which requires all foreign nationals to have proof of their vaccination status. They must be fully vaccinated in order to enter the US. So as you mentioned, This is great news. Many people are, eagerly waiting for this. They mark this in their calendar, November 8th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern time.
Yes.
Now for US citizens and lawful permanent residents and those who are traveling on an immigrant visa, they are not required to show proof of their full vaccination status, but they are still subject to the testing requirements, which have been in place since January.
Yeah, and we'll get into it. We'll get into all those details of what this testing requirement has been, since January of this year. Okay, so U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents are, they don't have to worry about it at all. But what about non-immigrant visa holders? Like those who are H-1Bs, L-1s, F-1s. What about them? B-1s. Those on tourist visas.
Right. So for the foreign nationals traveling under non-immigrant visas, the good news is you don't need, if you come from those countries, you don't need the national interest waiver exception anymore. So what you need to show to the airline is proof of your vaccination status, plus the testing requirements again. But as long as you show you've been fully vaccinated with the vaccines that have been approved by the FDA and World Health Organization, you should be able to travel to the US.
This is such a good news. Yeah.
Yeah. Neha, the one thing I want to mention is that this does not affect, the operations and the processing of visas at the consulate. So yes. So you will still have to check your consulate's website, their specific consulate's website as to how they're operating. Some are still operating at the limited capacity.
Yeah.
Others are still backlogged with regards to getting appointments for their visa stamping. So that's still, ongoing.
Yeah, we still don't know whether the consulates are fully functional. Since the onset of the pandemic, the consulates have been really working in a very limited capacity. So we still don't know, even with this proclamation, there's no mention about the consulates getting back to work in their full capacity. So yeah, so visa, you need a visa to enter. The proclamation is only, it takes away the NIE, the national interest exemption that was in place, which was actually such a it created such a mess, back in May, 6 months ago, when the travel ban was implemented. At that point in time,
that's just
yeah,
right. And that's just for Indian nationals, for
yes,
those from China, like it's
yes,
been there in place longer. So,
oh God,
so this is
yeah.
such welcome news. If you have a valid visa, then all you need is really the proof that you've been fully vaccinated.
Okay, so let's get into the proof part of it. When you say proof of vaccination, what does the guideline say? What exactly is the proof that people need?
Okay, so according to CDC, you'll
Yeah.
need like either a digital record, those that you can download with a QR code. So you
Yeah.
either have a digital record from an official source, or you have the paper document, your actual vaccination certificate or your CDC vaccination card to show to the airline, or a digital copy of those. So either a photograph of your vaccination card or your vaccination certificate, or a downloaded QR code. So that's what the airlines will be looking for.
And I just want to mention, we are live right now. You would be watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. If you have any questions related to, travel to US and this proclamation in particular, that's what we're talking about today. The proclamation that goes into effect 12:01 a.m. on November 8th Eastern Time. Drop in a question and share this video with all those who might need it. Definitely. Now, Gladys, you spoke about the proof of vaccination, right? There's been there's just so much confusion about what kind of vaccinations are accepted, what are not accepted. There are certain vaccinations, especially like I know about India because I follow the news there. There's a vaccine called Covaxin that was not approved by WHO, and there's a lot of confusion whether those who got Covaxin can actually now travel to United States or not. Could you tell us about it? I heard some good news, but I want you to break it to us.
Thanks, Neha. So that's right. So CDC says they will accept, the vaccines that have been authorized and approved either by the FDA, the Food and Drug Authority, and by the World Health Organization. So you have the, of course, Moderna, Pfizer, the Johnson and Johnson, and then you have the AstraZeneca, Oxford
Yes.
AstraZeneca, Sinovac, Sinopharm, Covishield, and just, I think it was yesterday or just 2 days ago, the World Health Organization approved the emergency use of Covaxin. So that's great.
Nice. Yes. That is such a relief,
right?
Because I personally know of so many people who were completely worried about their elderly parents, not being able to travel to United States just because they got Covaxin. So this is welcome news.
For sure.
All right. So you basically, Covaxin is included. You need to show a proof of your vaccination. You could either show a downloaded digital format, either that or the physical card itself. Now, who's going to verify this information, and at what point in your travel is this information going to get verified?
Well, it's the airline that has that responsibility to verify the information. So what the
Okay.
airline will do is match, check whether that person, the name, the date of birth matches the information that they have. They will try to verify whether the document is from an official source, like from
Okay.
a official government agency in that country. They'll try to verify that. And of course, they will also check whether you meet the CDC definition of being fully vaccinated. And what that means is that you're fully vaccinated 2 weeks after the last dose in the 2-dose series, or for Johnson and Johnson, the single dose 2 weeks after that single
Okay.
dose. So that's what's considered fully vaccinated. So they will check the dates. I just don't know specifically when the airlines will do this. Is it upon booking, or they'll have their
Yeah.
own, or prior to boarding? But I would assume, when you book, they might require that already.
I would imagine that, right? And we've been hearing a lot of news about fake reports and fake vaccination cards. Now, how are the US agencies going to monitor all of this?
Well, when the travelers will be required to sign an attestation,
Okay.
confirming, of course, the veracity and the truthfulness of the documents and information you are presenting. And if later on found that this is, fake, the traveler may be subject to criminal fines,
Ah,
criminal liability. So we have to caution, our viewers, against engaging in that kind of activity.
you don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to lie on your document on an official document and then use that to travel into the United States of America. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Yeah. So Gladys, what happens to kids who are they exempt because there's only a certain section, certain age group of kids who are right now authorized to get. I mean, to get the vaccination. The other have also gotten authorizations, but kids don't have. A lot of kids have not had vaccinations yet. So, are they exempt? And if so, what are the guidelines around that?
Okay, so for children under 18 years old, I know you mentioned that some of vaccines have been approved for them, but the US
Yeah.
government recognizes that these vaccines are, their availability globally still varies. So
Yeah.
the children are still exempt. Kids under 18 years old are exempt from the requirement, but they will be subject to testing depending on who accompanies them or if they're traveling alone. So for instance, if the child 2 years old to under 18 is accompanied by a fully vaccinated adult,
Okay.
then you have the 3-day testing requirement that they should test negative 3 days prior to boarding. And then if they're accompanied by a unvaccinated adult, then they have to test negative 1 day prior to boarding.
So this rule of testing 72 hours prior to boarding the flight has been in effect for many months now, right? And you need the results. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying something.
Yes, I was going to mention that it's the 72-hour rule has actually been replaced by the 3-day or the 1-day rule. So I'm making that
Okay.
distinction because the 3-day window and the 1-day window provides a little more flexibility. Say
Yeah.
you're a fully vaccinated adult and you have a flight on November 8th at 5 p.m. If we follow the
Yeah.
72-hour rule, then your test should have been you should have gotten the test on November 5 p.m. and afterwards, right? But with
Oh,
the
okay.
rule, it's any time on November 5, even if it's like daytime. So
Right.
the
Oh, okay. So
it
that's
provides,
nice actually. Yeah.
yeah. it provides a little more flexibility. So we're going by the 3-day window and the 1 day versus the 72 hours
72.
and the 24 hours.
Right. Now, what if the results don't come in within that 1 day? What happens then? You just can't fly?
Yeah, you can. You can. So
Need to.
the US government is saying that, okay, what if you can get a test within that 1 day? But they believe that, if you don't want to be subject to this strict requirement, then get fully vaccinated before you
Yeah.
travel. Now, if
Yeah.
there's really no sufficient way to get a test, they mentioned that there would be a waiver process in place, but we don't know specifically yet the details of that waiver process.
Okay, so there will be more details coming by closer to November 8th, I guess, that'll, go
Right.
into more details about what the exemptions are. But there are certain exemptions in place, right? Certain people are exempted from all of this proclamation. Could you tell us
Right.
about that?
Right. So we mentioned earlier the children under 18 years old,
Yeah.
and then we have those individuals where vaccination is what they call this medically contraindicated. So for
Okay.
those individuals, the airline will require them to present a letter from a licensed physician from their country explaining how it is medically contraindicated. And then you still have the urgent humanitarian, reasons. I think it's also with respect to health and safety. But for these individuals, they will be required, once they are allowed to enter the US, they will be required to get vaccinated. And then you
Okay.
have those diplomats and the crew members. What other exceptions do we have? At the top of my head, I'm trying to
Right, but
remember.
these are the the major group of people who are completely exempted from the ban, from the new
Well,
proclamation. I mean,
yeah, interestingly, Neha, there's no exception for, I mean, if you read the proclamation, there's no
yeah,
exception for religious grounds or moral conviction. But we'll
yeah.
see, we'll see how that plays out.
It's interesting you brought that out because a lot of people here in the United States of America are using that to not get vaccinated, right? So we
Right.
don't know, if you're traveling from any other country into United States of America, and if you're using religious or moral ground to not get vaccinated, it's going to be really difficult. You will probably won't be allowed to
Right.
enter into
And
United
there's
States of
there's
America.
still the sorry, Neha, I keep
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
interrupting. Sorry.
No, please.
There's still the national interest exception too, but
Yeah.
we have yet to see whether it's the same process as the NIE that we have now. But what the US government is saying, that the exceptions are going to be very limited. So you will need to require to contact your post or your consulate whether you will qualify for the exception.
So just get vaccinated. It's as simple as that. If you are vaccinated, you
Exactly.
can just easily travel into United States of America. Now, one question that's been really bothering me. So on November 8th, 12:01 a.m. Eastern time is when this proclamation goes into effect. So what happens to those people who are already in flight at that point in time?
Well, if they're in flight, they're still okay. They're subject to the previous policy.
Okay.
This policy would apply to those who are at the time they depart their
Yeah, that
country.
country, yeah.
And, it's November 8, 12:01 Eastern time. So it would apply to those travelers.
Okay, so that's really interesting to know. Everybody, we are live here, and you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. And if you have any questions regarding this proclamation that goes into effect on November 8th, 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time, please send us a question here, and we'd be happy to, answer that. Um, Gladys, what happens to so you mentioned that you need a negative COVID, test result. Now, do folks have to present a negative COVID test on top of proof of vaccination also? Is this a
Correct.
2 point thing that they'll have to do?
Well, the testing requirement has been in place since January
Yeah.
of this year. So those who have been traveling to the US already know this requirement, that they're subject to this requirement. So what this new policy just says is that's still in place. Now, if you're a fully, let's say you're a US citizen who's not fully vaccinated, you
Yeah.
would just be subject to stricter requirements because you have to show proof of your negative test result a day before. You should be tested like one day before boarding your flight, and you show a negative test. Now, if you're fully vaccinated, then there's the 3-day window instead of the 1-day window for that.
Okay. Okay. I actually have a question. Kedar, he asks us, given the relaxation in quarantine rules globally, do you think it is now okay to travel to and fro between US and India via stopovers at, say, Dubai, Doha, Europe, etc., via Emirates, Qatar Airways, and the like? Or there still could be crazy quarantine rules where one gets stuck in stopovers for quarantine or COVID related compliances? I think he's mentioning to that 14-day rule,
Right.
where one
Well,
had to, yeah.
sorry.
No, go
Well,
ahead. What does it mean? Yeah.
well, Neha, because those geographic travel bans that restricted travel, and you have to quarantine like for at least 14 days in a third country, let's say Mexico. That's what other travelers were doing at the time. That will no longer be in place. So I think there's more freedom to travel again. Which is
Yeah.
good for everyone. You can do your stopover in a country, even if it was geographically, banned before. Now
Yeah.
that's gone as of November 8th.
Okay. So, Kedar, I hope that answers your question. I have another question from Rajiv. He asks, his father has a US tourist visa and they will be going on a cruise to Mexico. Now, does his father need to apply for a Mexico visa or is he good?
He should be good if the father has a multiple entry tourist visa and he's staying in Mexico for not more than 180 days. So he should be okay.
Okay, that's great to know. So, guys, we've been talking about the proclamation that goes into effect 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time on November 8th, basically making it possible for all the countries that were under so-called travel ban, the previous proclamation. Now people can travel without any restrictions on by providing the proof of their vaccination. Okay, so you need to be vaccinated and you need to have a negative COVID test result to be able to travel to United States of America. All of this also depends on whether the consulates are still issuing visas. Are they backlogged? Are the consulates working in full capacity? We don't know yet. But Gladys, we are reaching the end of our conversation, and I want you to quickly kind of recap, if I may say, this entire conversation into top 5 takeaways that people can, those who are watching us, can take away from this conversation.
Okay, 5. Okay, you gave me 5.
Yes.
So first, you have, of course, that the geographic travel bans are now superseded. Second, what will be required for foreign nationals traveling to the US is proof of your full vaccination status. Third, you still have the testing requirements in place. So either the 3-day test or the 1-day test. Fourth, which I did not mention earlier, is the airlines will, obtain more information from you for purposes of contact tracing. So you'll need to provide information about that. And of course, 5 exceptions. What I didn't mention earlier was, those that come from countries with low vaccination rates, meaning their population, not more than 10% of their population has been vaccinated. So those are one of the exceptions. The children, medical contraindication, members of the armed forces, and all of that. But yeah, and
Yeah, I mean, holiday season is coming by. Today's Diwali, and then we'll have Thanksgiving and Christmas. We want to see our family. We haven't seen our family in such a long, long time. So I think it's great that this proclamation is going into effect, and families can finally see each other. So that's super amazing. Gladys, what are your plans for Diwali? Do you celebrate Diwali?
yes, we're celebrating here in the office. Actually, I can hear them setting up in our break room. So we're gonna have a big lunch. Yeah, we're celebrating. How about you?
Yeah, we will be, not today, but we will be celebrating early next week in our, New Jersey office. And I can't wait to celebrate. And, this is a little bit of normalcy that we are seeing in the world, where most of us are back to work in physical sense in the office. We're no longer working remote. So that's great. And I'm just so excited that travel's opening up and we'll be meeting many more people and safely this time, because of the vaccinations. So that's super amazing. And all of you who joined us today, a big thank you, a very happy Diwali to you. And also want to reiterate, this is not legal advice. It's a disclaimer. It's no legal. It's not a legal advice. If you need any information, if you want to get in touch with us and need any legal advice, you can get in touch with us. You can send us an email, info@chugh.com, info@chugh.com. My name is Neha Mahajan, and I'm joined by Gladys Gervacio, who's our partner attorney from our LA office. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be here again next week, and we'll talk about another pertinent issue. See you next time then.